Hi, this is Rod Bryant. Welcome to another Word of Torah. We're really excited that you guys have stuck with us now for 4 classes, right? This is going to be just beautiful to do each week. And so I just want to remind you guys what we're doing. Moshe and Moshe is in Israel, I'm in Houston, and we're here to bring the wisdom of Torah, the power of learning to learn Hebrew through study and learning Torah. Very brilliant concept. I didn't come up with the idea. Probably Moshe is the one that come up with the idea, maybe somebody else. But this is his brainchild in the sense that he is the one teaching the classes with such passion and excitement and fun at the same time, that you're going to learn more Torah than you ever thought you could by studying the words of the Torah, the Hebrew, the Ivrit. So we're going to start our class, and we're now on our fourth class, and we're starting in what verse?
That's a very good question. I know what day we're starting on. Last time we finished day 1, so we're starting day 2.
There you go. Day 2 of creation, not day 2 of the podcast.
Absolutely, yeah. I should be more clear about that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
One a little bit more significantly, powerful than the other.
Well, we've got high hopes for the podcast.
Yes, exactly. I don't think we'll change the world with it, but we hope.
Right. Fantastic. So this is where this was our last video. That last podcast was the end of the process of creation on the first day. V'yikra Elohim l'or yom. God called to the light day. V'lechoshek kara laila, and to the darkness called night. V'yehi erev, and it was evening. V'yehi voka, and it was morning. Yom echad. I think that's where we finished off last time, right?
Yes.
So that must mean every time we see a number for the day, we must be starting the next day. So the next verse will be in day 2 of creation. Mm-hmm. So let's have a look at what that process involves. So I think we talked last time about tense flipping vavs.
Yes, we did, actually.
About light. So what I'm going to do is from now on, when the vav is an and, I'm going to have it red. But when it's a tense flipper, I'll have it this kind of light blue. Yeah, exactly. And whenever we have a letter here which tells you about who's doing the verb, I'm going to make it green. So if it's a green yard, that means he or it is doing the verb. If it's a taf, it means she or you, because sometimes when God instructs someone to do something, that's with a taf. If it's I will do, it's an aleph. If it's we will do, like the famous phrase na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will understand, that'll be with a nun.
So we're going to see these examples other than the nun later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so with this first word here, we're starting off with the root amar, which is always to do with speaking. Mm-hmm. And yomar would be he will say or it will say, and v'yomer means he said. Actually, this is going to be the word that we get most familiar with most quickly, because there's a lot of God speaking, and there's a lot of patriarchs speaking, especially in this book. So this is probably going to be the first word that everybody sees on sight and goes, "Oh, I know that one," and immediately goes to its meaning and its sound. So va-yo-mer, with this lovely little segal vowel. I always think of it as like 3 little eggs in a nest, so it makes an sound.
So very good. I do the same. Yes.
So we've got the verb. Now we need to know who's doing the verb. And in this case, it's v'yomer Elohim. So this is the noun for God. So it must be God said something. God spoke. And the last session, we saw the phrase yehi or, there will be light. But now it says yehi rahia. So this is from the root to be. Haya is was, hove is, and yeh is will be. So yehi comes from here. Mm-hmm. But we need to know, what is this rakia? So just before we go to the dictionary definition, I want to point out, every word in the Hebrew language has got a 3-letter verb root. Now, I'm gonna push you to the max of your mathematical skills here. I'm gonna get you to bring in all of that,
it won't be much.
Right. How many letters in this word?
There are 4 letters.
There we go. Absolutely. So one of them must be extra. And one of the things we'll get really used to doing is spotting where's the extra letter. Now, it happens to be, I've done this before, so I know that there's no resh as a prefix. You can't have a resh as an extra letter at the beginning. Right. And you can't have an ayin as an extra letter in the end. In fact, the only letter that can be extra in this word is the yod. And that can happen for different reasons of intensity and stuff. But it means when we're looking for the root, we're looking for the root resh, kof, ayin. So if we look that up, what we get is all of these words have all got the root resh, kof, ayin. But you get different words. You get rakia, mirka, larakea, and with different vowels and different letters added in, you get different meanings.
Yes.
But there's a theme here, so we can look at the theme and get a sense of what does the word mean. So when we have this word firmament, right? I don't like that as a translation because nobody says firmament anymore. It doesn't tell me anything, you know. It's like translating, you're saying water to fill in. Oh well, the phylacteries. Right. You know, what's a phylactery? I don't know what a phylactery is.
We have a thing that's said over here in the Appalachians. It's over there in the holler. And that's a term nobody uses anymore around here. Holler. I don't know. Do you guys have that term in the UK? Well, go over to like the shouting. Holler. No.
Like a hollow.
Yeah, like a holler. It's like like in the ground. It's a valley, but it's real deep. But it's not a big valley. It's a holler.
Oh, weird. Okay, I have to come and visit you. And you have to show me a holler.
I will.
And we can holler into it.
Yes, we can holler into it. And so we got this word holla in it.
Oh, we can holler about how
good the holla is.
Yeah, great.
Okay, let's go on. Let's go.
Okay, so firmament, we're not getting much information on that. Weirdly, the next one we get is a cinema screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Better.
We need more clues. We've got one clue. The next one is to flatten or hammer out, and then we get hammered, and then we get background. And you think, what's in common between these things? The last one we have is to trample or stomp. So everything here is about making something thin, stretching something out. A cinema screen is very thin, right? So there's some quality of thinness to whatever this rakia is.
And right? This hammered out also is a creative matter.
Right, and it's you know, you're hammering something, you know, like a blacksmith will take a chunk of metal and you know. So there's this. So we need to see it. Let's go back into the context and say, well, okay, so how is it used? So, V'yomer Elohim yehi rakia. There will be a rakia, a thinness, something, whatever that may be. And then it tells us batok. Now, you know what we were saying about a minute ago about where's the extra letter. A lot of the time, I'm just going to highlight it to make it clear. So, tavech means middle. It's the middle of something. So, batok means in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. And then we get hamayim. Now, we don't have a planet yet, you know. We've got, you know, the unformed void, and then there was darkness on the face of the void, and then the Spirit of God hovering over the mayim, which is either, you know, water or flowing or something. Right. But I don't think this is yet water. Mm-hmm. I think we're dealing with something which has the quality of water, but I don't think we're talking about H2O molecules. I think that's later. I think the specific mayim we're talking about. Maybe it's mayim, maybe it's water, but I think it's at the moment we're using words that give us a clue as to what's happening, but it's still it's all God time, you know. It's not become human compatible.
It really is. It really is still dealing with mystical concepts.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's going to be a rakia, a thinness, batok in the middle, hamayim, either of the water or of the flowing, whatever it be. Mm-hmm. And then it says vayihi. We've got another yihi, right? Mm-hmm. So one or two things could be happening. The first yehi is it will be, and the second yehi is either flipped it into the past and it was a something, bein mayim lamayim, or it will be a something. What we're going to get used to is spotting how can you tell when it's an and when it's a tense flipper.
It's a good one.
It's a really tricky one to spot, but it really, after a while, you find yourself going, you know, certainly my students in our Sunday class, and it's spread out, we call this a Nancy Vav. because not only is Nancy good at spotting when it's a tense flipper, but also she said, "Can we have two different colors for the valves, please?"
Oh, so okay. So she was the brilliant one that came up with that. Okay,
absolutely. So Vayihi Mavdil. Now we've got another one. We had Rakia before. We had to look it up. Mavdil is also new, so we have to look up. So what's the root? Well, I think that the mem is extra. I think probably the yod is extra again. So that would be bet dalet lamed would be the extra. Buddle, something to do with buddle. So what is buddling? Yeah. So we have this list. All of these words have the buddle bet dalet lamed root. To be separated, to be differentiated. Separatism, isolationism, different, separation, distinction, Havdalah.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do when we do Havdalah?
Yeah, we're separating out the Shabbos for the week. Yeah,
exactly. We're making a distinction. We have this whole ritual just to show the difference between this holy time and this lesser holy time. You know,
right?
So all of these, you can see, they're all on this common theme, and that's the really nice thing about the Shoresh system with these roots, is that you can get to the heart of something and then go, okay, what's happened to it from there? What kind of word has it become? How intense is it, or is it reflexive? All this kind of stuff. We'll get used to that. So something to do with what the mem can do at the beginning is it asks the question what. So the word what in Hebrew is ma. And so basically, if it starts with a verb, putting a mem on one of the functions of a mem is it can say what does that verb. So for example, the verb poteach means to open, and I can say ma poteach, what opens, and I get the word mafteach, which is a key. Right. And so what we're doing here is saying ma v'dil, what separates, and it becomes a separation.
Mm-hmm.
So vayihi mavdil means, and it was a separation, bein mayim lamayim, between water to water, or between flowing to flowing. So whatever this thinness is, still God concepts, just as you said, it's separating in mayim, right?
Right.
So if there's a separation, let's follow this a little bit further. So we have this word vayas. Now you'll notice that on this letter sin, we normally think of this as like a sh sound, right? But that's when there's a dot on the right-hand side, and that's the most common version. But occasionally you get a dot on the left-hand side. It's left from your perspective. It's not flipped.
Yes, if it's left, it's sin instead of shin. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we have va that flips it into the past. Ya says he or it did it. And as is short for asa, because you'll notice the black two letters. We've only got two letters from this three-letter verb.
Uh-huh.
So there's a hey missing. So there's these two letters. Hey is one and nun is the other, and they're weak letters. And normally, if they go missing, if they drop off the word, just because of the way people pronounce things, just the way English people say bottle of water, we drop all our T's.
Yeah, you did go there, right? Okay.
So the hey's dropped off the end. We can also lose a nun off the beginning. So the two weak letters are hey and nun. So this is via as, which means, and asa is the general verb to make or do.
Mm-hmm.
So we can just keep it as vague and as open as that.
Like what do you do?
Nakon. Absolutely. Now I noticed that you gendered that in the female. That feels like it's almost like a flashback to an argument you've had before. What are you doing? It's very specific. So v'yas Elohim, and God made. Do you remember this et from before? This is something we don't ever translate into English. This is the object marker.
Right.
So that means that the subject who's doing the verb is God. That's the verb. That's the subject who does the verb. And then we have the et is pointing to the object which is being made.
Right.
So that's ha-rakia. Now before, a minute ago, we had rakia. Now it's ha-rakia. That ha as a prefix, what that does is that's the. That is the, right? It's the definitive article. So it's the thinness. The as Elohim et harakia, God made the thinness, whatever this thinness is, firmament if you like, but it doesn't mean anything to me. V'yavdale, and separated. And he separated bein hamayim, and then we get this magical word, this oft overlooked, simple little word, asher. I love this word, asher. Now, asher means that or which. So Who cares, right? Why am I getting excited about that or which? But what it means is you're about to get more detail about the word, because it's the something which something. So whenever you see this word asher, I was like, okay, so the first thing is the object, and then asher, load of detail.
Right.
And actually you can see in this, there's two ashers. I'm going to highlight that one yellow as well. Because what's happening is God is using this thinness, this rakia, to separate between the mayim asher na 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 na,
right,
and the mayim asher na 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 na. So we're getting details about the two mayims that are now two because there's a separation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. Let's see what this detail is. Can I ask you a very impersonal question? In fact, a very personal question.
Well, certainly, yeah. Right.
Where is your tuchus?
The tuchus is in the reversus part of the bodius.
Right, absolutely. Technically speaking, right. So the Yiddish word tuchus has come from the Hebrew word tachat. And in Hebrew thinking, your tachat is underneath you.
Right.
So it says, v'yavdeil, and he separated, bein hamayim, between the water or the flowing, asher mitachat l'rakia, that is under l'rakia, under the thinness, right? It's not, technically it says under to thinness, but prepositions work differently in different languages. Yeah. Uvein, and between, hamayim asher me'al l'rakia. Now you've guessed it. on top of the rakia. Me'al, actually, we know a word already that gives us this preposition me'al. So al is where we get this word from the root aliyah. So to get an aliyah to the Torah is to be called up to the Torah, or to make aliyah to Israel is to ascend to Israel. So al means on. And technically, me'al, you see how this is different. It's not ma'al. It's not like the mafteach. It's different vowel. So this one technically means from. So it's from on. Okay. So let's review that. Vayas Elohim, and God made et harakia, the thinness. Vayavdeil, and separated bein hamayim, between the water, asher metachat l'rakia, that is from underneath to the thinness, uvein, and between hamayim, the water, asher me'al l'rakia.
All the time noting this, there is still no earth.
Right.
This is still some level of mystical thing that's going on. There's a separation between this flow, one above, one beneath. Yeah.
This is one thing which gets me really excited about this. Because,
I know.
Why, what are these flows? What's happening with these flows? Well, everything we dealt with in the beginning so far in the previous weeks, we've dealt with Elohim, which is God, which has this weird Yod Mem ending, and you're thinking, well, God's one, God's not plural, why is it Yod Mem? Because Yod Mem can be the masculine neutral plural, but God spends a lot of time saying, I am one, there is no other, I have no, I don't share my glory with anyone. So it's very clear that we're talking about a singular object, especially because of the way the surrounding verbs work. So what else can Yod Mem do? Well, then we see Shemayim, heaven. Shemayim is also a single, is wherever God is, right? So it's not plural. So why is it Yod Mem? Well, again, it can be something like God, which doesn't have a hard edge on it. It's less finite. It's not a thing. It's just like Mayim. Mayim doesn't have a hard edge on it. It's something which flows. Imagine if all of these Mayim, these Yim things are all about flowing stuff, right?
So really, it's a demonstration to tell us that whatever the Shemaim is, it has no form. It's contained within whatever it's designed to be contained within. It's like it's free flowing energy, quantum level, something going on.
It's pre-rules.
Yeah,
it's before any laws of physics. The cool thing is about this, we've got the water now.
It seems like the Hakadosh Baruch Hu is setting up the rules right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's really exciting, because we've now got a flowing above and a flowing below the thinness, right?
Right.
God is about to introduce all the rules to the flowing underneath the rakia, but doesn't introduce any rules to the flowing above, because God doesn't need rules. So the bit below is going to become the finite universe where we live. The bit above is the place where God is and doesn't need any physics. But the thing I love is this word rakia, because the whole point is the separation is only very thin. There's nothing between us and everything, but this thinness that's just a border between the finite and the infinite, which I just personally find really exciting. It's like that song, "All the World is But a Narrow Bridge."
Right. And it's often referred to as a veil. It says that Hashem veiled himself from all of creation. So this is what that is, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Because what is a veil but a very, very thin thing that just
like a screen. So that what you look for is actually a projection of what's coming. Like when you look at the sky, it's a projection of what's on the earth. That's it. The sky's not blue. It's just a projection. So when I look at this thin veil, whatever spiritually that separates us from that side, we see what is reflected back in physicality. It's an incredible idea.
And whatever this thinness is, it's not going to be a finite physical thing.
Correct.
Because then it would be in our bits. It's the bit in between our bit and the infinite. So it can't be really a truly infinite thing or a truly finite thing. It's the border veil. So it must be something that doesn't quite fit into the other systems, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But we're doing that thing where we get excited.
I know, that's why you notice I quit saying it. I'm like,
no, don't quit. I love it. But I just
go ahead.
We're going to self-manage.
Waste your own time, not my time.
So then we finish here with this phrase here, and this is Vayehi Ken, and this is weird because in modern Hebrew, Ken means yes, just like this, right? But what it kind of means in Torah is like thus or so. So I mean, I could say to somebody, Rotza kafe im chalav. Do you want a coffee with milk? They can say Ken. Right, which means
but
yes,
but also means let it be so.
It's just like Jean-Luc Picard, absolutely. Make it so, number one.
Make it so.
Right, so it says V'yehi Ken is a way of saying, and it was so, and it was like that. But the other element to this is when God is creating stuff in these 6 days of creation, or 6 flows of creation, if you will, when they're not quite finished, the sentence says, and it was so. When they're finished, it then says, and it was good. And at the end of the 6 days, it says, and it was very good, because all of the processes are finished. Right? So that gives us a clue. When we see this, we go, oh, there's more stuff is going to happen to do with this creative process. We're not done yet. We've got more coming, which is cool.
Right.
Okay. So, and this is often the next stage, for Yikra. Now, Yikra is a book of the Torah. I think that in Torah, we get a lot of stuff more right, more clear. One thing that the other religion that we often mention is they're better at naming books than us. Because what we tend to do is we take one of the first words in that book that has kind of some weight to it, and we just name the whole book after that. So V'yikra in Greek is called Leviticus. And actually their name kind of works a bit better because the whole book is about the laws of the Levitical priests, the Levite priests, whereas ours just mean any call, which is totally fine, but that word shows up in all the other books as well. So V'yikra is the verb to call. In all the same ways as the word call is, I've lost it, come back, as the word call is in English. So, they call me Reuven, or my mum's calling me in for tea, or I called into the holler. And so all of those things, the kara can mean all the same stuff. So we have the vav to say it's a future tense thing flipped into the past. We have a yod to say he or it is doing it. And then we have the root kara, which means to call. So that's the flipped. That's the future flipped into the past, right? Then we have who's doing it. So v'yikra Elohim, God called. And then it says l'rakia, to the thinness, called shemayim.
Repeat that again. He called.
V'yikra Elohim, God called l'rakia, to the thinness. It doesn't say that he called the thinness shemayim.
Correct.
It says he called to the thinness shemayim, which is interesting because God's talking to the physical things that it's creating. So he called to the thinness
things as he's talking to them.
Yeah, like summoning them into existence. Come and be light. Come and exist. I'm inviting you into existence. And another cool thing as we started talking about like prefixes and what they can mean, and how like a hey can be the ha, the definitive article can be like the, or a vav can be and, or it can flip the tense of a verb. Shin is also a prefix, right? And you can see that this word shemayim, which means heaven, 1, 2, 3, 4 letters, too many letters, right? So what does shemayim mean? Well, one possibility is that the shin is a prefix, and the prefix shin is short for asher, that we just, that or which. Right? Mm-hmm. And if we're loosely theorizing, that the mayim has something to do with the flow,
right?
Then shemayim would mean that which flows.
Correct. Yeah.
And if that's the bit which is above the rakia, that never gets any rules, the bit below the rakia gets all the rules and isn't so flow, it isn't so infinite, it becomes finite, not so much of a flow, whereas the infinite is that which flows. It's the shemayim. It's just a possibility. So the Yikra Elohim l'rakia shemayim, and God called to the thinness shemayim, heaven, v'yehi erev, v'yehi vocha yom sheni, v'yehi erev, and it was evening, v'yehi vocha, and it was morning, Yom Sheni, day 2. Pretty funky. So
we can definitively say that's what happened in day 2 was the causality of the principles of physics, et cetera, taking place right there. What separates between the physical and this, whatever the sublime, the eternal, infinite.
Absolutely. We're going from stuff that we have never experienced, like the idea of light and darkness being one object. We can't even really perceive that. And we're approaching, the beginning of fish and land animals and eventually people. Right. So the end of the week is stuff that we know about and we understand. The beginning of the week is stuff that we can't really get our heads around. So it's much more subtle. It's like, here's energy, and now energy has rules.